called the Destiny Code, the Prism Code, the Angel Code, and the Star Code. And we're going to try to get through as much of this as we can get with you today. The Destiny Code, the Prism Code, the Angel Code, and the Star Code. They may not mean too much to you now, but when you really realize that all successful try to get through as much of this as we can get with you today. Businesses, the millionaires and the multimillionaires, the ones that really work have cracked all 4 of those codes. And the ones that don't work, the ones that do fail, end up cracking 1 or 2 of them, but not all of them. And eventually they do fail. They fail. I was driving to the hotel on Saturday morning. The guy was a limo driver, and he's telling me all about how things were going on and how his life was going. He says, I used to own my own delivery company. I had 10 different cars, and people were doing great, and I was delivering all kinds of products. And then 9/11 happened. It's from 9/11, bam, my business completely fell off the map. I lost all my cars, I lost all my businesses, all my accounts stopped because of the security issues of people coming inside their businesses. The security issues just stopped it. And business was dead. It was dead within 4 months. And now he's back driving a car all by himself, working for somebody else. So the risks are kind of dangerous out there. And what we want to make sure you understand is that you not only need to have the right kind of systems to make your business work, but you have to have multiple of them to give you the safety that you need. So let's just talk about the 5 principles, and we're going to cover this just briefly. What we call, your business has got to grow at the speed of light.
Everyone say the speed of light. It is an acronym, and Bob is going to tell you what it means.
Well,
remember,
at
Bob?
The speed of light. I forgot the L stands for lovely, light. Well, we use that acronym.
He had a car accident. He has short-term memory loss. Say, oh. No, he didn't forget.
You heard a lot of us talking about this enlightened word, and obviously we're going to be branded with that word. And what we're trying to teach, what it really means is to build a foundation under your business where your business can survive it, where your business can be prospered and protected in a way that's almost supernatural.
Everyone say prospered and protected.
Prospered.
When Bob and I were walking back from church this morning, it was very interesting that that's where we were living, because our business, all you got to do is look around this room. It's packed on a Sunday morning. This is not normal in a seminar business. What happens is that we're doing the right stuff right. One of which is, we say, look, the first 10% you got to give back. We're not saying it has to be to a church or its equivalent, but you got to give back.
What we're trying to say is the concept that Mark and I have been talking about, and we're not the only ones, and we're not the earliest ones, but there is something happening. Something happening to capitalism. It's being transcended. Old-style capitalism is going to go. It has served its purpose. It has got us to the point where we can now create wealth. Now, new-style capitalism, enlightened capitalism, or enlightened entrepreneurship is going to start to take hold. You're going to see articles like that in all the major magazines. You're going to start to feel it all over the place as people start to say that the reason that they created their wealth was because they were creating their businesses to become a source of giving, not a source of getting. And a source of getting is now old-style capitalism. How many of you want to help spread that message? Let me see, raise hands on that. That's what we want to be about. And so we start here in a place where we can gather and enjoy ourselves, and then we go back into the world that all believes in old-style capitalism, where money is the secret, where we're pursuing your own individual pursuits and getting what you want only for you, and on hoarding as much as you can has got us where we are now. Now is the time for us to go to a new level. And that's what that LIGHT acronym stands for. It stands for, oh, by the way, this came out in the USA Today. Look at this. It's smart to give back. Look at that. Volunteerism varies by education level. In 2002, 29% of U.S. adults did charity work by completing school, by those who completed schooling. In other words, if you went to grade school, only 8% of people who went to grade school give back. But if you went to graduate school, 53% In other words, the smarter you are, the more it's necessary to give.
Because here's what happens. We believe that you start at the end. Where do you start at the
end?
Our dear friend Jim Rohn, the greatest business philosopher perhaps of our time, says, don't start a day till you finish it. Don't start a week until you finish it. Don't start a year until you finish it. Why would you start your life being an adult for most of you? We've got a few kids in here, but most of you haven't set up what are your life agendas. Because if you will write a 100-year agenda, some of you will finish a 100-year agenda in 10 years. Some of you can finish in a year because most of you are underusing your capacity. And what we're saying here is if you'll make I did this on Wednesday night, but we'll do it again, make an infinity sign in the air this way, everybody. And then the right-hand side say residual income.
Residual income.
Left-hand side say residual philanthropy.
Residual philanthropy.
Residual philanthropy means that you figure out what it is that you are here to score for. You are coded at DNA and RNA, we believe, to score for something. I don't know what you're to score for. One of the things we're to do is our mission, which we're coded together for, is to eradicate poverty, which we think is the greatest slavery on the planet right now. And some of you have been there. Both of us have been there. Both of us have been hanging out by our fingernails so low we had to reach up to touch bottom, and we said, hey, look, we're going to get out of this, and when we do, we promise we'll bring everybody we can up with us. Now, we can't do it for you, but we can hold up the mirror, let you look in it, and say, yeah, I see that I've got a bigger me. Everyone say there's a bigger me. Yeah, and you got to just, everyone say, I'm shaking off the little me. Everyone,
I'm shaking off the little me. So if you're going to see the end from the beginning, you go all the way to the end and you say, well, if I really made huge amounts of money, what would I do with it? And once you've bought the Mercedes and you got all the cars and you got it out of your system, and once you've got the beautiful house and it's filled with all kinds of gorgeous stuff that just gets older and older and older, and you got that out of your system, and frankly, we almost all got to get it out of our system. Mark and I have got it out of our system, but we got it. We got it. And then you go, okay, now I've got everything I've ever wanted. What are you going to do for the rest of your life? You're going to give, you're going to give, you're going to give, you're going to give. So let's start right there, not as a way of being obnoxious to you. We're trying to tell you we want you to get everything in your life. We want you to have all the magnificent stuff, abundance completely overwhelming you, and so much to give. So we're going to talk about residual philanthropy here and models that you're going to be using when you're that wealthy. And we want you to allow that little negative voice sometimes in your head that says, well, you don't have that kind of money yet. Just turn that one off and just say, go away for a while. Just go to sleep. Turn that negative voice off and say, one day, this is the way your life is going to be like.
So this is the 10th chapter in our book, so this is the end. And it said, why give once when you can give continuously? The only lack we have in the world is lack of consciousness. Everyone point at your toe and say lack of consciousness.
Lack of consciousness.
This is why we've done such a heavy foundation, because if the foundation... Was I the only one that heard that? Yes. I saw Bob Hope once, and he kept saying, I hear a ring, and he kept saying it so much that people started laughing, thinking it was part of a joke line. And what happened is that it was a domical shape. We were in Denver in a geodesic, and there were windows all the way around, and the crickets were coming in, and he was the only one that could hear the crickets. And so it made him crazy. Anyhow, the only shortage is awareness. Establishing your goals of residual philanthropy in the early years make your business successful. Everyone say today.
Today.
Now, wait a second. Some of you say, well, show me how that works. Well, we want all of you, when you come to New York, one of the places we're going to take you is, and go alone if you don't go with us, is 91st and 5th Avenue. Our hero is Andrew Carnegie. You go through his house. I also want you to go to Scotland, to Dornoch, Scotland, and go to his 60,000 acre estate, sort of like the movie we showed you on Wednesday night. But Andy said, I'll spend the first half of my life making the money, the second half of my life giving it away to do the most good and least harm. And as far as we're concerned, he benefacted education, 2,856 libraries. I wrote a book called The Miracle of Tithing.
How many of you have read The Miracle of Tithing?
Businessmen look at it and say, what's the miracle of tithing? And I said, you haven't been tithed enough lately.
How would they get a copy of it, Mark?
How do you get a copy? Just call 800 Soup Book and tell them you get it at
800
wholesale.
Soup Book and get a copy of it. It's a great little book. You'll love it.
Yeah, anyhow,
Free.
I teach different than anybody else. Everybody else teaches tithing as your treasure. That's the last. The first is thinking. Point at your mind and say thinking.
Thinking.
Point at your neighbor's temple and say thinking.
Thinking.
And this is why, and we got Diane Baker is in the room somewhere. Are you here still? I saw you. She had to leave. Okay, Diane Baker is she's finishing a process. When that terrible tsunami hit and we had a 650-mile, tectonic plate move, and I'd just been in Phuket, Thailand, a year and a half ago, and it was so beautiful and so scrumptious, one of the most idyllic places, one place I'd like all of you to have gotten to visit. It was gone. As were 4 countries wiped out. And we said, well, what do I want you to do? Well, I start with thinking. Where do you start with?
Thinking.
And I still want all of you to take 10% of your frequent flyer miles, but now I want you to call Delta Sky Miles or United's equivalent and say, I want you to give them to Northwest Medical Team, because we're still sending medical teams over because we've got 500,000 people not fed. We started with Habitat, and then Habitat had its own little internal disruption. But you start with thinking, time, talent, and then treasures. Treasures is last.
It's all about trusteeship. Old-style capitalism is about ownership. Enlightened capitalism is about stewardship. The money flows through you. It doesn't stop with you. If you ever doubt that question, how many of you own your own home or apartment or condo? How many own your own place where you live in? How many? Raise your hands on that one.
Good.
Walk around the house one day and notice how it's built. Notice the grass and the foundation and the walls. And ask yourself the question, how long is this house going to be here? Will this house be here long after I am gone? And you'll say to yourself, wait a second, this house might be here for another 200 years. I won't be here another 50, 80, 100, 120. You're going to hold it for a short period of time, and then you're going to steward it. You're going to take care of it, and you're going to pass it on to somebody. And eventually you learn how to become a steward. Now, steward is when you become abundant. Ownership is when you become scarce. Scarcity is an ownership concept. If you own it, it's a very scarce thing. You're the only one that's got it. But if you're a steward of it, you say to yourself, I'll control it for a period of time, and then it'll be given to this person and that person and this group of people and maybe that charity, and for 100, 200, 300, 500 years, the abundance of that concept just opens up your soul.
Are you doing mortal goals, meaning short-term, am I going to make it through today? And the bigger they get, the easier they are. So you want to be doing immortal goals. And when I heard Schuller say that, I came back to Bob and I said, we built an institution. We're going to create $1 trillion, and we're going to have a facility that's one of the things we're going to build, and it's going to be built for tens of thousands of years, just like a lot of you have been to Rome, and we just saw probably the greatest funeral in human history. 5 million people. That's the number I got. The number may be higher, but that's the number I have from the media I read. 5 million people spontaneously showed up. I was in Washington during the occasion, and the ambassador to Vatican City was in my class at Horatio Algier, along with Tom Selleck and a few other people. But Jim Nicholson came back in Air Force One with 3 presidents and said it was the most spectacular thing, and he flew all the way back overnight. And on Sunday morning, he addressed us in Washington 2 weeks ago and said, he made all of us cry. I'm not going to take you there, but it said that this Pope had done some immortal things, and that's what we're asking you to go to higher levels of consciousness, higher levels of awareness. That's what residual philanthropy is at its highest and best.
So I want you to go out 10 years, 15 years, I don't know how far it would be, when you've achieved the kind of wealth you want, and there's going to be a group of people, a church, a cause of philanthropy, something that really you feel inspired, interesting word, you feel inspired to steward to. You feel how does higher power inspire you? How will you know where the money is supposed to flow through you to? How will you sense it? How will you know? It'll just kind of distill on your soul. You'll just kind of know. You'll just know. So the word enlightened obviously stands for leverage. It's finding what you love to do, because that's part of your destiny. What you love to do is you. What your inner wealth is building the inner part, and then the outer part flows to you. Giving, we've talked a lot about that. Higher power, and bringing in the more enlightened and inspired parts, and then becoming a trustee of your residual philanthropy, which we talked about here this morning.
Everyone say I'm a trustee. Everyone, I'm a... Bob and I are saying, and we'll just hit it one more lick, is that you've got to be a good steward. Not maybe you got to be. You got to steward your earnings, your savings, your investing, and then your giving, but you've got to figure it out in advance. That's what most of us haven't done. That's why my cliche is don't think it, ink it, delegate it to document. Write it down. And we're saying write down your 100-year goals, and most of them are going to be accomplished. Some of them is as short a time as a day or a week or a year, just because most of you have been scared. Everyone say, I'm releasing all fear. Take your hand, shake it off, say, I'm releasing all fear. I'm releasing all rejection. I'm releasing all abandonment issues. And all of us got them, and we're not going to go into any of that part of we'll do experiential stuff. We've got some stuff we're going to tell you that'll be experiential coming up that you'll be invited to.
So when you say the word light, that's kind of that's the acronym that it means. When I talk about the speed of light, that's the principles that we kind of base this on. And it just takes one idea from an enlightened person to live like the king for the rest of your life. So what is going to be the idea that gets, inspired into your heart? What was the idea that she got? And she's in a train and she's heading to London, and this idea just flashes in her head. She said, I have never been more excited about an idea in my life. This is a woman who's on welfare. Actually it was before she went on welfare. She was eventually going to be married. She was going to have a child. She had a miscarriage. Her mother died when she was 45 of, I think, multiple sclerosis. She had a rotten time after she had that idea. Then 2 years later, when she had nothing, she had been in Spain and she was ready to come back to England. She was on welfare. She says, the idea I had 2 years ago when I had something, now I've got nothing and I have no choice left. I have to do this. She starts to write the book that makes her a billionaire. And
I want to hitchhike on that story. Before we go on to the next guy, which we've got a second story about, is that Tina Turner, who's back performing again. And if you've never seen Miss Turner, when I brought my little kids the first time when they were 2 and 5, they were dancing in just scant seconds here at the Arrowhead Pond behind us. But when Ike took everything and left her with 27 cents, and she worked right here in Glendale as a maid, but the general manager was nice to her. And then all of a sudden, Mick Jagger looked for her and said, look, you've got way too much talent to be a maid at a hotel just because you're having a little setback. You come out and perform for me. She made all the money back. She came, bought this little hotel in Glendale, goes into the GM, the general manager, and said, here's the keys. You are now the proud owner just because you treated me right.
Isn't that a cool story?
That is enlightened. Bob and I are saying there's some cool stuff you got to plan to do when you're broke. Because what we learned in Think and Grow Rich, which we hope you read, and we're standing on the shoulders of Dr. Napoleon Hill, and neither of us met him. He was sort of gone when we were just coming online, but we were both part of a lot of things that Knapp did. But Knapp said, when riches begin to come, they come in such avalanching, overflowing abundance, you wonder where they've been hiding during all the lean years. You've got to have it planned.
Say that quote again. That's such a powerful quote.
When riches begin to come, everyone?
When riches begin to come.
They come in such avalanching, everyone?
They come in such avalanche.
Overflowing. Abundance. That you wonder where they've been hiding during all the lean years.
You want to be hiding during all the lean years.
Because when it hits all at once. I mean, Bob and I could tell you all the cool stuff happening to us, and we are living John 10:10, the abundant life. It's not maybe we're there. All you got to do is look around this room and see we're there. And neither of us have to work. But the reason you work is because we don't want you to work. That's the wrong model. You've been taught the wrong model. We don't want you to work play. That's still the wrong model. We think your right model, there's a new word we've created, is work ecstasy, which is works-to-see. Everyone say works-to-see?
Works-to-see.
Which goes along with our other friend, Dr. Stanley Mason, who's the world's most profitable inventor. Stanley invented stuff you use and you've never thanked him for. He invented the Band-Aid. He's got 8 daughters. He invented the tampon. He invented the disposable diaper. And I'll go back to that in 1 second. He invented the granola bar. He invented microwave cooking, and he does one new invention a year and makes 10 million extra. Make 10 fingers, say 10 million extra. This is unenlightened as far as Bob and I are concerned. These two guys are enlightened. Yeah.
Now, where did that idea come from? Think about that for a second. These guys came out of nowhere. Where did that idea come from?
Everybody was bigger than that. Now they wear Brioni suits and tennis shoes, and their stock went straight up, and it has kept going up. I haven't read it lately. But
some of you are happy about that.
But what happens is that we checked our model on these guys because what we say is to 100-fold, which we're going to teach you in a minute, the sigmoid curve. Everyone say sigmoid curve? Sigmoid curve. Those of you that have studied business, sigmoid curve, you go down, then you go up, it accelerates, plateaus out, and comes down. That is a one-off. And Bob and I are in my office, and we're looking at all the plaques where I've had all those books bestseller, and I said, why did we sell more? And we had Chicken One, where we sold $1.5 million in a year and a half, so our goal, we did $1.3 million. But while it was going up, and we were going Mach 3 with our hair on fire, 365, 24/7, we immediately came out with the second helping, and then we came out with a teenage soul. It sold $19 million off the shoots, which what happened is, we looked at these guys, and we looked at all the other people, because everyone says, Bob, you could double, but you can't really 100-fold.
100-fold.
100-fold. Well, these guys last year grew 16,847% in 1 year. Everyone take your hand and go. Now, what they did is, one of my companies is LexisNexis. How many attorneys do we have in here? LexisNexis, basically, attorney, what does LexisNexis do? Their state of research. What happens is nobody knows, but Google was smart enough to, here's what we taught. We said, number one, on Wednesday night we started, you got to have a dream. Everyone say a dream. Dream. Number two, you got to have a team. Everyone take your index fingers like this, please. Put them together and say 1 and 1 equals. Team means together, everyone accomplishes miracles. The team behind them that nobody knows is LexisNexis plugs in part of the puzzle. What Bob and I are saying is your life is a mosaic. It takes a village to raise you. It takes a village to raise your business. It takes a village, and you put in some of the parts and the rest of the parts show up. But the biggest part we're trying to get is you got to write down what your passionate purpose is. We don't know what it is. Touch yourself, say, what's God's destiny for me? Everyone?
What's God's destiny for me?
These guys had everybody fight. By the way, he was here. Is Troy in the room right now?
Troy was here on Wednesday night, I think.
He was here Wednesday and Thursday, but you all saw him on The Apprentice.
I mean, there are all kinds of ideas. So the question is, how do you get an enlightened idea? This is a simple process. And when you read the Cracking the Millionaire Code book, we teach you how we get our ideas. We 3B them. Is it to be or not to be, or 3B or not 3B?
Yeah, Shakespeare was wrong. He missed to be.
The question is,
body, brain, and being. Being is your spiritual essence.
Your body is a receptacle for ideas. Your being, your spirit, is a way to come up with great ideas. Your brain is a source of powering ideas. When you exercise, when you have a regimen every day with the goal that I'm going to have $1 million idea today, I'm going to have an idea that is going to 100-fold me, then you focus in on having all those three pieces together. So each of us has a regimen that we go through. His is different than mine, and you have a regimen that you go through. Since your entire life is a 24-hour period of time, you could take your entire life and you can summarize it into one day. If your entire life is one day, how do you want to start your day? And we've talked a little bit about this. I have a regimen that I go through, my being, my body, my brain. And then I have my little recorder. And my brain just pops off ideas like crazy. I'm just like sparks start flying because I focus in on getting those three pieces together. Mark has a different way of doing and getting his brain and body and being to create his $1 million ideas. How do you do yours?
Well, that's less relevant than what you need to do is monitor what you do, and we're asking you to journal here. I mean, Oprah says the two most important things she ever did is read 2 books a week. 2 books a week! Obviously, we want you to start with ours. And I'm up 101 on just chicken, so you got a lot of reading to do. If I could do, you could do it. Number 2, more importantly, is journal, and you journal your future. And the model real quick is, when she's sitting with Steven Spielberg when they made Color Purple, this is called a model. Everyone say a model?
Model.
Spielberg is writing in his journal, he's going to do a new company called Dream. She said, can I copy that model in my journal? He said, of course. She writes it in. She takes her name, Oprah, backwards, and it is... He writes down he's going to be a billionaire. She writes down she's going to be she's the first billionaire. Now, some of you are catching it and you're writing down, I'm going to be a billionaire. It doesn't cost anything to write this stuff, but the minute you write it, it is already true. All you do is catch up. All you do is synchronize in time and space. You're announcing the truth in advance. Everyone say in advance. We announced in advance that you would be here. Here you are. We're announcing right now that there's going to be 1 million of you in our seminars in the future. Some of you are going to become our trainers.
When you receive this, you don't have to fill out your traditional financial statement, but the question is, how much are you worth? And the real question is, who's asking? If your banker is asking how much are you worth, what are they usually talking about? Yeah, what's your financial statement? And your financial statement looks like this. The assets that I own, I got cash flow, I got credit, I got collateral. And the other side, the other enlightened assets that you possess, that will be on the other side of this statement, your creativity, your chutzpah, your confidence, your charisma. So each one of you take one of these, and here's what we want you to do for just 5 minutes. When you get home, you can fill out your traditional financial statement. Keep it for yourself. It talks about all the things you own and all the money you owe. And when you subtract what you own from what you owe, you end up with a net figure, hopefully. And hopefully one day you'll be a millionaire, meaning you'll have $1 million worth of assets, net assets that you own. The other side of the financial statement is the thing that very few people ever think about. We call it your enlightened wealth statement. How many of you have not yet received one? We'll be passing them out here. You'll be receiving one. Those of you who have received one, you're going to see that there are certain hidden assets that we all possess. And these hidden assets are the source of your wealth. What kind of intangible assets do you possess that the banker usually doesn't ask about? Okay? And the first one that each of you has is, they may not be, all of you have 101 dreams, but Mark has challenged you to write down at least 101 goals. What's your statement you call on that? Your 100 goal statement?
Yeah, what you need to do is, when you get home, your goal is to write 101 goals. And if you're not a millionaire, obviously we said write down I'm on schedule to be a millionaire. But you want to write down, and you can go to my website and pull it up, but you fill in the blank. Like my perfect home has how many bedrooms, how many closets, swimming pool, what kind of deck, what kind of windows, all that stuff. So you fill that out, and you fill out my ideal cars, the charities I want to donate to, and it's just fill in the blank so you can do it, because most of you don't get your good because the spiritual law in Habakkuk says write a thing. Everyone say write a thing?
Write it.
Make it clear. What has it got to be? Clear. See, because most of you, if I talk to you one at a time, you say, well, I just want more money, so what I'd do, give a quarter?
Nope.
Well, if I had a quarter, I'd just say, well, here's a quarter. Well, now you got more money, but that isn't what you really wanted. It's got to be clear. You got to get definite with the infinite so the infinite can get definite with you. Everyone point at your temples, say, that's interesting.
We said this morning that one of the lessons I learned about how the brain works is to make your goals multisensory. So that's why we call them dreams here. It's not just a goal like I only have $1 million net worth. I want you to make it multisensory and to turn it into a dream. And one of the goals that we want you to do when you get home, the dreams you have, is to write down 101 of those in multisensory ways. It may take you months to do this, by the way. But the more you build more dreams into your life, the more you're going to find yourself naturally doing them. As you look at this enlightened wealth statement,
get the 101 goals done fast. I want you to sit in a group of 4 and listen to other people's dreams. Everyone's going to be okay with your dreams and you'll be okay with theirs. But when they say, well, I want X, like I need to get this skill, I need to learn how to swim, or, I want to go with Mark and Bob to help plant the coral and bleach. So I need to know something about biology. I need to get PADI certified. I need to learn how to swim. I need to learn how to snorkel. I need to learn how to dive, right? All that stuff. And you start writing down your goals, it'll become fast. Everyone say it's going to be fast. Because begun is half done, and all you got to do is get them in writing, and what happens is they start to click. Click your fingers, say, my goals are clicking. Everyone? My dreams are clicking. Now look at your neighbors, just like Fonz would, and say, your dreams are clicking.
Your dreams are clicking. Turn to your enlightened wealth statement. On the left-hand side would be assets, hidden assets that you own. How much is your life worth? How much are your spiritual beliefs worth? Meaning, if you have them, but if you didn't have them, or if you could sell them, like, you know what, I don't want my spiritual beliefs anymore. Would somebody just buy them from me, please? And you would never be able to get them again. What would you sell them for?
What would you sell your IQ for?
What I want you to do is to quickly, rapidly go down this left-hand column and tell me what those items are worth to you right now. The question is, why doesn't the banker look at this stuff? Because the hidden assets we have will be the source of all the money we ever make. And the hidden liabilities sometimes we hang on to will be the thing that stops us from making all the money we'll ever make. And none of it's ever talked about in our banker's financial statement. In fact, everything on your financial statement, traditional banker's financial statement, is completely worthless. The money, the credit, the collateral is all worthless. You can make it from nothing. You don't need credit, you don't need cash, you don't need a job, you don't need anything except what's on your enlightened wealth statement. That is important stuff. You can drop me in any city and to take away my wallet and bankrupt me, and I've been there, and I am going to take my enlightened wealth statement and I am going to make it back again. I'm going to fill up whatever the banker wants. I can fill that up again. It comes from your enlightened wealth statement. It is the absolute source of everything. Most of you come into a room like this and you're all stuck on the banker's view of the world. Like you got to have a good credit rating, and you're so desperate to keep your credit clean. Oh, and it's nice, it's good, I'm glad you are. But both Mark and I became millionaires with the worst credit you can imagine. All right, how would you behave differently if you knew you were worth $100 million? Think about it for a minute. On your banker's statement, if you knew you were worth $100 million, how would you behave differently? Well, you'd probably get rid of the car you're driving right now, right? How would you behave differently? That's where the wealth starts from. It's when you know you are already worth $100 million. Now let's play that way. Okay?
Don't spend that way. This is a mental simulation like driver's ed or Bob and I are pilots.
And that's how you know.
So you're going to go from a little picture, everyone make a little square, say I'm going from my little picture without whacking your neighbor, say into the big picture.
All right. So the PRISM code is, how can I learn to see like an enlightened millionaire? Now, okay, so all right, so you're valuable, you got all kinds of worth and yada, 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 and you're connected with God, so what? So how do I start to see the world of money the way an enlightened millionaire sees the world of money? See people and opportunities and objects that have value to them. Most people don't see it. Obviously, you put on your 3B glasses and you start to see with million eyes and million ears and million aromas and million tastes and million arms. You begin to become a sensing machine. You literally, when you're inspired and intuited, in spirituition, you might want to call it, when you are wandering through the world and you are now connected, everything now becomes valuable. Every object now is $1 million object. When we talked on Wednesday night, we were joking a little bit about us going to people's houses and having a reality TV show where we go into their house and we knock on the door and we give them $1 million bill, one of our phony ones, and we say, here's $1 million bill. We're gonna make $1 million from your very house. Okay. Well, what do we see? How do Mark and I see things differently than you do? When I walk into a real estate property and I walk in that house, I'm looking for flexibility. That's my method. That's the only thing I'm looking for, flexibility. I'm saying, who is the flexible person in this drama called real estate? I'm looking for somebody that's flexible. Let's see, is the realtor flexible? Would the realtor lend me his or her commission? Does the seller flexible? Does the seller need to sell this thing? I'm not know. There are 9 players in the game called real estate. 9 of them. And we're all in a little play. And I want to be the owner of this property eventually, and I got to talk to those 9 people in such a way that those 9 people will turn that property over to me somehow. People always say, can you buy property with nothing down? It's impossible to do that these days. Well, I can always borrow 100% of the money from some partner. Take that money of that partner and go over and buy the piece of real estate. Big deal. That's nothing down to me, right? So these 9 players in the game, I have to have this little play that I'm putting on. And each person's playing a different role. And when I walk into a piece of real estate, I see it differently than you do. I'm in there looking, I'm saying to myself, does God want me to own this house? I literally feel it. I'm walking through this home, and I know no matter what kind of money I have or what kind of deals or opportunities are coming on, I just sense it. And when I sense it, then I go off, okay, then I've just got to work with these 9 people to figure it out somehow. Do you have an intuitive strength, courage that's strong? How many of you have a good intuition? See, raise your hands on that. How do you do your intuition? When if you were to receive an intuitive hunch, how would you do it? How would you know that you should buy that house? How would you know it? Is it a feeling you have? Is it a little voice that says, yeah, this is the one right here? Or is it a flash of insight where you can literally see it all beautified and the walls are painted and you can just see it? Each of us has our own way of doing intuition, and we don't have really time enough to spend it this afternoon to talk about it. We might talk a little bit more about it when we go into the Power of Persuasion seminar, the 3-day that I'm going to gift to you, the proteges. But in addition to this powerful intuition you've already received, which is your gift of brilliance, higher power also communicates to you. As she was saying, you have ways that higher power talks to you. I want you to do it as an enlightened way. When you walk in that property, I want you to literally sense whether this is yours or not. Walk in. Is this the one? And if you get a good hit on it, if you feel good about it, then you go into it with much more congruency, like, yeah, something about this property is going to change my life. Now, when you get a negative intuition where it goes, don't buy this property. Don't buy this one. Have you ever had that? I had that one on a beautiful property, multi-million-dollar piece of property, and my intuition said, don't buy this one. But my greed bully said, think of how wonderful it will be when you own this property and you'll be rich. And I would not listen to my intuition. And that one mistake cost me $10 million and wiped me completely out. So I'm speaking from personal experience here.